from the Testament of Questin Ibsec, Counselor at Large, for the city of Fingerall. Oh, yes. We had an Isle Roy sheriff here a few years back. Yes, wonderful man. Absolutely terrifying. Offenders would beg for prison simply to get away from him. Very off-putting. Brilliant. You see, beyond being massive and violent, there was something else about him. When you were in a room with him, you understand, just the two of you, well, there was always someone else there. There was always a third person in that room. And I could never figure out who it was. It chilled me right to my core. Oh, where is he now? Oh, yes. I have no idea. But if you do manage to track him down, let him know that his work here will long be remembered. No need to include my name. Hey everybody, turns out we have another bonus episode for you this week. This time it's the second of Molly's research interviews with the crew. There's not really anything else for me to say here, so here you go.
Okay. So I would say Molly probably tries to talk with Theron about his dream journal every week, every other week-ish. Mm-hmm. I would say. Just because otherwise you end up with too many dreams to deal with in a sitting, presumably.
Sure. Yeah.
I guess it depends on how often he dreams. So would he prefer to, where would he want them to meet for those kinds of things? They probably have a regular spot.
I think that he'd just naturally be inclined to talk with you about it in his quarters. Mm-hmm. Which are, to remind you and our listeners, in the section of the ship closest to the snake. So not fully, but maximally biological section of the ship. It is very warm. It is humid. He keeps a lot of plants in there. He has a sort of 3-point sleeping hammock. And some large pillows, and at least one scissors chair. So he'd probably give you the scissors chair and perch himself in the hammock. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Cool. So Marley shows up. She's probably in a tank top and bare feet, and she's rolled up her pants kind of up to the knees. It just gets hot and uncomfortable in there, and she's never really figured out how Theron doesn't mind it when he's wavery, but whatever works. Yep. So she comes in. Hey Theron, how's it going?
It goes well, Captain. Thank you.
Good. If you have a little time, I'd love to go over your dreams that you've had for the past couple weeks, if it's convenient for you.
It is quite convenient. That would be fine.
Cool. So she walks in and plops down on the scissor chair and kind of opens. She has this little booklet that basically it just looks like a blank page, and she writes on it with a pen and nothing ever gets recorded down. But when she uses her goggles, she can see what she's writing down. It just never actually shows up on the page. It just kind of gets uploaded as a digital page.
Oh, that's fun. I like that.
So a lot of the time she'll be sitting with you and wearing her goggles, presumably to take these notes. But the other thing that she does, which she doesn't actually ever tell Theron that she's doing, is that she tends to be on the noetic spectrum, so she can watch Emperos while she's talking to Theron. So she kind of settles down, gets out her notebook, kind of puts her goggles on and fiddles with the dials a little bit, and just kind of jots down a scribble on her notebook that to make sure that everything's all hooked up correctly. She says, "Okay, well, hit me."
Yeah. So Theron is sort of curled up like a cat in his hammock bed thing. Mm-hmm. You can see, since you can see in the noetic spectrum, that Emporos is, as Emporos generally is, essentially perched atop his shoulders and kind of back in the position that he's in. Its face points roughly in the same direction that his face is, so towards you. I mean, the face such as it is, but the big insectile eyes, and its mandibles and its several different limbs, which end sort of more in spikes than in anything like an appendage, move in very small motions. Just enough to indicate that it's alive and awake, but doesn't otherwise do anything obvious. And Theron has Theron keeps the journal and he reports the things out to you, right? That's the idea,
right?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So Theron,
and then she'll kind of write them down.
Says I think. I'm not sure that there's anything terribly new to report. Let's see. Most of these were dreams about victory in battle. There were 2 different dreams about some of my favorite food from when I used to live on Fingerroll.
What were your favorite foods?
Oh, well, there was this delicious pie shop when I lived there. Theron gets this faraway look. It's possible that he's talked to you about this before, but definitely every time he talks about this pie shop, it's like he's talking about it to you for the first time. He doesn't...
Right.
They had the most wonderful meat pies there. There was antelope. There was ferengrack. So many different flavors. Sort of lips his chops a little bit while he's talking, and gets sort of a faraway look, like he's tasting the pie all over again. So those were pleasant dreams. I enjoyed those very much. In this dream, I had an argument with Rolith, but Rolith's face was upside down, and I think that the argument was about who finished the milk in the space fridge.
Right.
Let's see, what else? The yarn balls dream again. We've talked about that before.
That seems to keep popping back up.
Well, yeah, it's something of a recurrence. Definitely, it was Nasira Zeal who was riding on one of them, not just some other Morgit. I'm confident about that this time. I hope that next time I have that dream, I can tackle her off of it and kill her. That would be very satisfying. But we'll have to see what happens when I come across her again.
Yeah, fair. Do you often have lucid dreams?
What does that mean?
It means when you are aware that you're dreaming, and so you can control your dream. Like, for example, when Nasira Zeal is chasing you on the giant ball of yarn, you're becoming aware that because this is your dream, you could actually change the story that you're dreaming to be able to turn around and kill and eat her, or just kill her, whatever your preference happens to be.
This is a strange idea. In the culture of my homeworld, dreams are portents. There's signs of things that are yet to happen but will. The idea that you could be in control of that is very interesting.
So do you regard dreams like the giant ball of yarn as some sort of portent?
Theron looks thoughtful at this. Well, sometimes there is a conflict between what I was taught to know and what I have come to know now. And so I would say that I don't regard them as portents anymore, but thinking of them that way is an idea that it takes a long time to fully let go of.
That makes sense. She kind of writes down a little bit more in her notebook. So if you were having dreams like this back home, what do you think that they might have signified?
Well, of course, again, most of them are about victory in battle, so that's pretty obvious. I would like to think that I will get to taste some of those pies again, but I know that's not possible.
Well, why not? What happened to Fingerroll?
Fingerroll's still there, but not the pie shop.
Oh.
Yes.
What happened to the pie shop?
The very nice Qualian woman who owned it was killed.
Oh, no, that's terrible.
Yes, by Nasir Azil.
Ah.
His eyes go narrow, and you can see his hands that are, somewhat, he's sort of curled up, right? So his hands are by his face, but his hands move now like he's about to strangle an invisible person. Like you can see him reaching out to do it. But except for the balls of yarn, which I now regard as something of a, what was that word you used before? Metaphor. I sense that there will be a time when Nasir Azil and I will have our final confrontation.
What were you pursuing her for on Fingerroll?
She is a thief. Or was, or will be until I catch her. I still don't fully understand. It didn't make any sense. There was no reason to kill Quamanda. She wasn't involved.
What did she steal?
An item of great value.
How did she get away?
I still don't fully understand that either. I had an excellent record as the sheriff of Figueroa. This was my only unsolved case.
I guess in that respect, it makes sense that she's someone you'd think of often when you were sleeping.
Yes. Not only when I sleep.
Molly takes a few more notes. So, tell me a little more about Fingerroll. I know every time you mention it, you seem very pleasantly wistful, I guess I would say. For you.
Well, it was my first real job.
How'd you find yourself there?
Well, I had been something at loose ends after my exile began. Once I was far enough away from the Empire that I wasn't in any immediate danger of being captured, I didn't quite know what to do with myself. But, very luckily for me, a recruitment agent who had been retained by the government of Fingerroll to find a new sheriff happened to think that I would make a good candidate. Told me about the job, and having nothing else to do with myself, I thought I'd give it a try, and it turned out that I was pretty good at it.
I would imagine so. That seems unusual, though, that the place would want a stranger for a sheriff. I mean, not to be rude about it.
Actually, that's been their policy since the beginning. They don't invite locals to serve in that capacity. They always bring in someone from off-world.
Oh, well, that's interesting. Why do they do that?
The balance of power on Fingerroll is very delicate. No one species has a majority, but 3 of them have roughly equal proportion, and then there are a few other people who aren't either of the 3. So they have become accustomed to the idea that the person who's in charge of enforcing their laws will be someone who is neutral, doesn't belong to one of the 3 major groups.
Yeah, it's sort of sensible when you think about it. So what made you leave Fingerroll?
Well, I left so that I could come and join your crew, Captain. That's how I came across the Chimera.
Oh. I hadn't realized the timeline had been that close. That's cool. Takes a couple more notes. So, so you and Emperos have been together for how long now?
Theron thinks about it for a moment. He's trying to do the calculations necessary to account for the difference in the way that you reckon time versus the way that he reckons time.
Right.
7 years now, roughly, by your calendar.
Do you feel like the way you dream now and the way you dream before Emperos is different?
Theron's thoughtful about this again. I would say that my dreams, their content has changed over time, but I don't think that their nature is any different. Emperos' dreams are different, of course, but not mine.
Oh, really? How, does he tell you about them, or do you experience them, or how does that work?
Well, when you gave me the journal, you asked me to record my dreams, which I have done, very carefully, of course. But I don't record Emperos' dreams because they're not mine.
Sure. Would Emperos be bothered if I, would it be okay? Because I'd actually be interested in learning about both of them. I actually didn't realize that was an option, which is why I didn't ask for it.
I would struggle to record them, to be honest with you, Captain. I don't know how to change Emperos' language into words.
Can you...
Here, let me give you an example. From his perch, he leans out of the hammock and reaches out what for him would be equivalent to his index finger, and lightly touches you on the forehead.
Okay.
Your mind is filled with a blinding white light. In that light, there are still shades of gray and shadow. They don't seem to actually be any less bright or any less shocking to your visual senses, but there are gradations there. You can see movement and sharp angles, and the noise is like really loud, really really bad EDM, like just incredibly off-putting noise.
Okay.
Semi-repetitive, very, very fast. Almost like hearing the screaming of a machine.
Okay.
It is very unpleasant.
Right.
And it's over very quickly. It's not obvious when it stops that any time has passed, actually. But it is absolutely awful enough that it feels like it took a long time, longer than it did. And it's not an experience you would like to have again.
And was it Theron who touched Molly's forehead or Emperos?
Theron reached out with his arm, but importantly, one of Emperos' chitinous robot limbs was on his arm when he touched your head. Didn't touch you. I mean, you can see the positioning of Emperos. It's like Emperos lifted his arm by the elbow and brought it to your head, right?
Okay. And so Molly just kind of jerks back and gives her head a shake and kind of reaches up to rub at her eyes, except she's got her goggles on, so her fingers just kind of thunk against her goggle glass, and she's like, okay, that was a thing that happened. So that was shitty for me. Is it equally shitty for you when you get those sorts of images from him? From them? From what? I don't know. What pronoun does Emperos prefer?
Them. Mahoi don't have gender.
Okay.
Theron explains. I mean, yeah. It took a lot of getting used to. I can make out the shapes now and somewhat understand that they signify different beings.
Mm-hmm.
I don't speak Emporos' language, but I'm starting to get some sense of meaning or at least implication.
Would you be opposed to recording those implications or meanings for me, at least, since the dreams themselves don't translate very well?
I can certainly make a note of whatever I can explain about it.
And do you two dream in tandem? I mean, how do you know when he's dreamed? They've dreamed.
Usually, after a given episode of sleep, I wake up and roughly half of the things I can recall are from my mind and roughly half from Emporos.
Is it always like that, where the distinction is somewhat unclear? I mean, just in general, not necessarily only when sleeping.
I'm not sure I understand the question.
The distinction between your mind and Emperos's mind.
I have an awareness that I am different from Emporos. I don't have there's no confusion about that. Mm-hmm. But the relationship of a Mechoi, Emporos included, the relationship of Mechoi to Kyborian, it means that in most ways, Emporos is me. Or myself is a vital part of what allows Emporos to be.
Okay. And a Kyborian is one who hosts a Mechoi?
Yes. Normally, well, for most of the Mechoi, they have many different Kyboria. Their existence is spread across several different Aelori at the same time. Often a couple dozen.
And you told Aviri that Emporos is a Mechoi that is not a Mechoi. What did that mean?
The Mechoi rule over the Aelori. They exist at the pinnacle of Aelori society. They are in charge of everything to do with Aelori culture and organization and government. They are the entire reason that the Empire exists. Emporos is outside of that arrangement. Emporos does not have the same role that the other Mechoi do.
What is his role?
Emporos has not told me that yet.
Okay. Fair enough. Well, I guess any other dreams to report?
Theron leaves through the pages a couple of times. Opens his mouth, puts his finger to the page, and takes the finger back off and says, "No, you already told me not to report those dreams. We're good." Closes the book up.
Righto. Molly takes a few more notes and kind of snaps her little book shut and tucks it away, and kind of looks up and gives Theron a smile as she's removing her goggles, but also takes the opportunity to just do one last look at him and Emperos, and sort of puts him on the top of her head. Well, thanks. That was really interesting and really helpful.
You are very welcome, Captain. I'm glad I could help in your studies.
All right. I'll, as Rolith likes to say, catch you on the flip side.
Very good.